my name is Kusha, and I am reading the book Spirit Animals. Yeah, the camera may not be so good as usual. Right now, I got these from the library, number 2 and number 3. Sadly, I couldn't get number 1 on book. I only got it on ebook. So, I'm going to read you number 2, but I'm going to have to rush through it. So, I'm only going to read chapter 1 and 2 for this one, but later, I'm going to read the rest of a lot of it. Okay, so let's start. The forest was dark and full of animals. The night between the trees clicked and growled and fluttered. In the small light of a lantern, a man and a boy stood and stared at a tiny flask. Although the flask itself was unimpressive, the solution inside was remarkable. A powerful substance... that could force a bond between a human and a spirit animal. Will it hurt the boy? Devin Trunswick asked. He was handsomely dressed, and there was an arrogant, cruel tilt to his chin that fear couldn't erase. A lord's son, he would never admit. He was afraid of the dark, even if there was plenty to be afraid of. The man Zarif pulled back the embroidered blue hood of his cape so the boy could see his eyes more clearly. Holding up the flask, he said, "Doesn't matter. This is a privilege, little lordling. You'll be a legend." And Devin liked the sound of that. Right now, he was opposite of legend. He came from a long line of marked individuals, people who had bonded with the spirit animals. But when his turn had come, he had failed breaking a chain that was generations long at his nectar ceremony. The event where children who came of age drank from the green cloaks, nectar and nanani, and hoped for the appearance of a spirit animal. He had summoned nothing, as if it wasn't bad enough. His own servant, a lowly shepherd boy, called up a wolf and not just any wolf. The boy had summoned Brigand the wolf, one of the great beasts. Devin was stung by humiliation, but the humiliation was going to end. Now an even more powerful animal would be delivered to him. He had prepared his whole life for this. It ran in his blood. This destiny had only been delayed, not destroyed. "Why is it called bile?" Devin asked, his eyes on the flask. "That doesn't sound great." "It's a joke," Zarif replied tersely. "I don't see what's funny about it. You tasted the nectar, right?" Devin nodded, his face sour despite memories of its exquisite taste. "Well," Zarif said, no scrubbing, "you're about to taste the bile, and then you'll get the joke. I promise." The boy looked hurriedly over his shoulder as a growl muttered from the trees. Beside him, a spider with heart shiny black lowered itself down a thread. He tried to stay out of its path. "Whatever animal I'll call will have to listen to me, right?" he asked. "It will do whatever I say. Bonds with the bile are different from bonds with the nectar," Zarif informed him. "The nectar might taste sweeter, but the bile is more useful. We can control much more of the process. For instance, you do not have to worry about bonding with that spider you've been so desperate to avoid." Devin bristled, annoyed that Zarif had noticed his terror. Loyally, he said, "I'm not worried." But his eyes darted to the covered cage that waited for them. Beneath that cloak was the animal he could bond with. He tried to guess what it could be from the size of enclosure. The cage was large up to his chest. Occasionally he could hear scratching noise from underneath it. This was the animal he'd spend the rest of his life with, the animal that would make him triumph. Zarif handed the flask to the boy. His smile was wide and encouraging as a jackale's. Just one sip will do it. The boy wiped his sweaty palms on his shirt. This was it. Nobody would ever question him again. No one would ever doubt his strength. He was the Trunswick family's first failure. He was its first legend. Though the open top of the flask, the bile smelled dreadful, like hair burning. He remembered the glorious taste of nectar until, like butter over honey, it had been so remarkable till it had gone wrong. Now he raised the flask to his lips without another thought, gulped down the bile. He had to fight hard not to gag. It was like drinking death itself, and the ground that death was buried in. But within the blackness he felt something coming alive within him, something vast, strong, and dark. His body could barely contain the thing that grew inside of him. In that instant he felt no terror. He only felt that he could create terror. Still smiling, Zarif whisked the cover of the cage. Chapter 2. Greenhaven. I might not be able to finish the entire Chapter 2 because I cannot take this for a really long time. So I'll try my best to finish it. If I'm too quick for you, pause the video and go on. I'm nearly ready, Ursa, Abeke said, slipping a bracelet over her slender brown hand. Her words were directed at the leopard that paced the floor of her room. Because the room was too small for a leopard, or because the leopard was too much large for the room, the big cat could only take a few steps in each direction. Before she huffled and twisted the other way, Becca could sympathize. In just a few short weeks, their world had shrunk from their home in wide-open Nilo to a tangled training camp, and then shrunk again to this island fortress. Greenhaven, the headquarters of Greencloaks, guardians of Eridos, and sorry if I mispronounce stuff. Abeke supposed that the fortress was impressive, a sprawling stone castle built on top of a waterfall, but both she and Ursa were of the mind that the forest surrounding it looked more appealing. Outside a window, bells sounded from a distant tower. 3 talls to call to training. Ursa paced even harder, making low grunting noise. All right, we'll go. Abeke tightened her bracelet so it wouldn't slip off. Although its strands looked like wire, they were actually boiled elephant tail hair. 4 knots in the strand symbolized sun, fire, water, and wind. Her perfect sister Soma had given it to her as she left home. It was supposed to bring good luck. But Abeke wasn't sure if good luck was really what she had been given since she left Nilo. She'd summoned a great beast as a spirit animal, which seemed like good luck. But almost immediately after that, she'd been recruited by people who were secretly in cahoots with the devourer enemy of the known world. Definitely bad luck. The Greencloaks had agreed to take her to... I'm lost. Sorry. The Greencloaks had agreed to take her in once she discovered her mistake. Becca knew that she was probably supposed to consider that as good luck. After all, they hadn't had to let her switch sides. But it didn't feel very lucky at the moment. She made one friend since the whole thing began, Shane, and he was still on the other side with the conquerors. She traded her only friend, 3 kids who didn't trust her. Really, Abeke wouldn't settle for the good luck or not getting lost in a giant Greencloak fortress again. As she opened the door, she donned the green cloak that meant she had sworn to defend Erdas. The dim hallway was full of sound. A monkey screamed, a laugh somewhere out of sight. A man's voice rumbled low beneath it. A donkey brayed, something like hoofbeats or pattering footsteps resonated through the stone walls. Abeke ducked as a bird, the color of a banana soared over her head. At the sight of the bird, Ursa, however, leaped skyward with a gleeful and rather threatening sound. The banana-colored bird shrieked. Just before the leopard slapped paws together, Abeke grabbed her tail. The leopard leap was brought up short with a yowl. Ursa spun for a moment. Her teeth were instinctually bared and menacing. Becky's heart stopped. Then the leopard realized it was Becky's hand on her tail. I apologize, but that someone was a spirit animal. One who... Then the leopard realized... She gave Becky a deeply wounded look. The bird flapped away. I apologize, Becky said, but that was someone's spirit animal. One would think a great beast would understand why it wasn't right to eat someone else's spirit animal. But with Ursa, sometimes the best part outweighed the great part. Maybe we should do this, Becky told Ursa, holding out her arm as a request. All spirit animals had the ability to enter a dormant form. If Ursa chose to enter it now, she would become a tattoo on Becky's skin. Until they got to training, and tattoos had never eaten anyone else's spirit animal. But Ursa was tired of being coped up. She considered Becky's outstretched arm for one long moment, and then she turned and stalked down the hall. Becky didn't press the issue. They were going to be late. As she hurried down the hallway after the leopard, variously green cloaks waved and greeted her by the name. Becky felt bad that she couldn't return the favor, but they all knew her more than she knew them. Okay, so I think I'm gonna end it up here. So I'll give you a chance to read this book. Wait, let me first give you this and then that. Okay, so I will not only be reading books, I will be able to play games if I could find a good way to video it. Unboxing, like you can see that Disney Infinity over there. That Mr. Incredible. So yeah. So see ya.